On the left-hand side, we have the clues. On the right-hand side, we have what we have found. Number one, the Bible tells us that the ark landed in the Ararat region. Number two, it landed on the mountains, mountains plural. 3, ancient traditions tell us that it landed on that it's now to be found on a hill, not a tall mountain. 4, in the Quran, we are told that the name of that hill is Al-Judi. Now, the Quran, of course, was written by Muhammad, who was a descendant of Abraham, and although the Muslims are not Christians, they still believe in the flood. They have ancestors who survived it, just as we do. Now, we have found that our boat shape is in the Ararat region. Secondly, it's on a mountain range, which would be compatible with on the mountains of Ararat. It is on a hill, not a tall mountain. And the name of this hill on maps for many years has been Al-Judi. The Turkish maps have it as Al-Kudi, very, very similar. It was stated to be on the hill's west side. Indeed, our object is on the hill's west side. The old traditions held that the ark was alongside a large rock. Interestingly, this present object is alongside a large rock and impaled on it as well. If this were the ark of which the Muslims spoke, then it had since been pushed sideways onto the rock by the alluvial mud flow that slid down to the east of it, resulting in the arks being almost completely covered. Point 7. The Assyrian king Ashurnazirpal II, and this king reigned between 883 to 859 BC, claimed that the ark's resting place was Nisr. Friends, less than 500 metres from this present object was a village now called Uzunjili, and under it, according to older maps, lay Sar, or Nasar, or Nisr. Point 8. The ark was reported to be on a north-south axis. Our boat, likewise, is orientated just 10 degrees from north-south. Now, another point is you go down into it according to the old Assyrians. Friends, it was buried in the ground until November 1978. Then, of course, there's the size, the precise length, and the precise width. Do some of the remains of Noah's Ark lie under the mud? Well, we have scraped away some of the mud already, but the final word will come when the excavation takes place. Now, friends, the question will arise, is there any artefactual evidence? Let's have a look at this.
The governor of Ari had Ron demonstrate the radar. When he found what looked like a broken timber near the surface, the governor had it dug up and gave it to Ron to be verified. The lab test revealed organic carbon. It was petrified wood. But the final proof was when it was sectioned. The evidence was obvious. Not only could the internal wood structure be seen, it was also clearly laminated wood. 3 separate layers could be seen. The adhesive material, or glue, had seeped out and hardened on one end and was perfectly aligned with the internal layers. But the ultimate test as to whether this was indeed once wood was to determine the presence of organic carbon. Galbraith Labs took samples of the timber. They first analyzed for total carbon content, both organic and inorganic combined. The next test was for only inorganic carbon. By comparing the two results, we would know if organic carbon were present.
We're in the process of weighing the sample now before the analysis for the total carbon from this sample. The inorganic carbon will be included in this determination, all the carbon that's present. As we run the inorganic carbon, we'll be able to tell the difference if there's any organic present in the material. We're getting 0.71% total carbon in this.
0.71.
Present time we weigh about 500 milligrams of sample for a carbonate determination. That would be the inorganic carbon in the sample.
Right.
81 ppms inorganic carbon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Inorganic carbon equaled 81 ppms, or parts per million. This equals 0.0081%. The result, 0.71% total carbon less 0.0081% inorganic carbon leaves 0.7019 organic carbon. This indeed shows that this specimen did once consist of living matter. Another exciting evidence came in June of 1991. In the presence of 26 witnesses, Ron found a fossilized rivet.
Our last trip out there this past June, we found this very impressive rivet. And if you'll notice here, the plate itself is just a little more than 1/4 inch in thickness. It's approximately 3.5 inches in diameter, the plate itself, and then the shaft of the rivet is roughly 1 inch to 1.25 inches in diameter. And if you'll notice here, it was struck while it was hot and flared out the end of the shaft so that it would not slide back through the hole in this washer. And this shows that their abilities to use metal was quite advanced, quite sophisticated, and folks, there are thousands of these rivets on this boat. In fact, at every joint where the wooden structures are held together, they're held together by large metal plates which are predominantly iron, and then these rivets.
Aluminum, iron, titanium, and other metals present sufficient evidence of a most sophisticated alloy. There are other specimens which also are consistent with what we would expect to find on Noah's Ark. One is a petrified section of a broken antler. Greg Brewer of Dixon, Tennessee, found this embedded in the Ark in August of 1989. Since it consists of the base of the antler, it can be positively identified by visual inspection. As antlered animals shed these antlers once a year, this shows that at some point in time, an animal with antlers lost them on the Ark. There is also a large quantity of coprolites in the areas where the Ark has deteriorated and broken away. These are, simply put, petrified animal droppings. Many of the evidences alone are convincing, such as the length. The petrified deck timber of laminated wood is the only specimen found to date of its type anywhere on this planet, such as the length. The petrified deck timber of laminated wood is the only specimen found to date of its type anywhere on this planet. Never has hand-hewn petrified wood been found, much less laminated. And the list goes on even beyond what we've examined here. But all of the evidences combined are overwhelming.
We're delighted with the results, and at this point in time, personally, I can look anybody in the eye and say that this boat-shaped formation in eastern Turkey is actually the remains of Noah's Ark.
Friends, the Turkish government reportedly sent a archaeological team to the site, and they recovered 4 intact metal rods, about 4 feet long, say about 120 centimetres long. These are now in the custody of the Ministry of Mines and Minerals. So you see, even before we get inside the boat, much is already being pushed out. As the mud comes over the top, it pushes down into some of the broken timber, into the rooms, and pushes out again items from the side where the rock has intruded. So we're getting a little foretaste of what may be found when excavation takes place later. Now there's a question that inevitably arises, and that is, but there couldn't be iron in a boat that old, surely? Well, friends, I suggest you get hold of a copy of my book, Dead Men's Secrets. Over 12 years of research in 30 countries produced some startling evidence. The truth is that long before the so-called Iron Age, human technology was incredibly advanced. Not only iron, but even aluminium was in use. We have solid evidence of this. The history of the past now needs to be rewritten. From the ocean floor, from under the desert sands, and from vine-choked buildings in the jungles, 1,000 forgotten secrets are coming to light. The Turks have built a visitors centre for the expected tourist boom, which they hope for when the war is over. This war is a real problem, friends. Over 10,000 people have died, and it's not in sight to have an end yet. However, when a protective dome can be erected over the boat to keep out the weather, then excavations should commence. Meanwhile, there's a man sleeping in this building. He's an elder from the village a few metres above. His name is Hassan, a very kindly gentleman. He sleeps with an Alsatian dog, and he calls himself the guardian of Noah's Ark. So he and his dog look after that boat shape there. And as you can see, all we have is the hull of the ship plus the bottom deck with the rubble of the 2 top decks lying collapsed over the top of it. We now go up behind the boat, up this way, to the top of the range, about 2 kilometres back and about 300 metres higher. Notice here are the remains of a very ancient monument, believed to be at least 4,000 years old. Notice what it portrays. Here is a hammock-shaped mountain. Then there's a little hill next to it, and then there's a volcano. You'll notice a boat here with 8 people in it. An older man and woman, 3 other men, 3 other women. And above it there fly 2 birds. I wonder if they are the 2 birds mentioned in the biblical story. Here we have a comparison. Let's compare this with the landscape we see today. Notice the hammock-shaped mountain range here, and there it is again. There is the little hill, and there it is. Now the volcano is not in the picture, but it is over here to the right out of the picture. And what this ancient inscription is telling us is that the boat was up there one time. Today we have it here. But coming from that volcano, there is an ancient volcano lava flow.